Hello everybody and welcome to this new Touchdesigner tutorial. And in this one I'm going to show you how to recreate this kind of 3D pixel dripping effect in Touchdesigner using pops. And you'll see it's quite an easy technique, and it shows how much power the pops have and how easy it is like to work with them. So for the one who wish, the file will be available on my Patreon, the 3D model as well as the Touchdesigner file. But I still invite you like to follow up on the tutorial so you can see like how it works. And yeah, otherwise we are going to recreate it from scratch. So yeah, let's like have a quick look. Basically, it's just a mesh deformation and only going on the y direction. And we can play like by deleting like to have something a bit more subtle. And it works with right now with an OBJ loaded with color applied on the mesh. So let's recreate this and start a new project. So first thing I want to do is to load my my 3D file into my project, my 3D mesh. So I'm gonna add a file in pop and load here my 3D file. So now that it's loaded, you can see like it loaded, but it's only in white. So I'm gonna click here, load colors. So now I have the color. So right now it's like quite a complex one with 3,000, a bit more than 300,000 points. So hopefully it's not too much for your computer. The effect works better with like more complex mesh, but it works as well with like simpler one. So first thing I usually do when I'm loading a 3D model is always to add a transform right after, so I can like really offset it or like correct where my 3D model is. Ideally I want it to be central, so right now it is, but maybe I want it a bit more up, just a little bit. But yeah, the aim is always like to have your 3D model central so we can work better with rendering setup and the camera. And then I'm going to add a null. And the first thing I want to do is like to have my mesh being rendered like normally, basic like normal rendering. So I'm going to link it to a geo, then add a camera and create like a 3D render setup. Add a render, and here I'm going to choose like a square resolution. So maybe 248 by 248. If you are running on a free license, you can choose 1280 by 1280. Then RGB key here. And I'm going to activate like the background. So we do have our model loaded now, but we can already see like it likes of light. So I'm gonna use like a constant material, drag and drop it on my material, and now I have my 3D model. I'm gonna lower down a bit the alpha, and in common activate the transparency. So right now I have something interesting, but I want it to be wireframe. So I'm gonna go like for topology wireframe and with 1. And we have something already quite interesting. Now I want to have my camera to turn around my my OBJ, my object. So for that, in camera, you can see we have a look at parameters, and I want it to look at my OBJ, and my OBJ is in coordinate 0, 0, 0. So for that, I'm going to add a null comp, and it's basically like going to store like the coordinates I want to look at, so 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to drop this now to my lookat, and it doesn't change anything now, but if I change like the translate of my camera, you can see like it will always look at my my OBJ, my object. Now I want my camera to turn around, and so I'm going to create a path using a circle SOP. And this circle SOP, I'm going to choose primitive, so it's like it's not bumpy. It's like really really smooth. And orientation ZX plane. Link this to a null and reference it as my path OP here in my camera. And so now if I change the position of my camera, I'm going to turn around my my subject. So I'm going to use the expression apps time.seconds and multiply by 0.05. And I have a slow slow rotation. In the translate, I'm going to choose 0 here, and I'm going to increase the radius of my circle. So yeah, maybe something a bit more, like 3.7. And here, like I feel my subject is a bit too high. So because I put a transform here, I can like really play on it like right away. So this is like the base of our network, like the base of our OBJ. And now I want to have the dripping pixel effect. So in order to do that, I'm going to add another null here. And again, this null, I'm going to link it to a geo. Then add a constant, drag and drop it on this geo. And here in common, I'm going to go like for GPU tessellated wireframe and with a line width of 2. So it's a bit more dense, and this is going to be our dripping effect. So the dripping effect, basically, it's a bit like, I don't know, a particle effect, where like we want to have the mesh like being displaced, and every frame we want the position to update. So in order to do that, I'm going first thing to do is to add a feedback here in between our transform and our null. And this feedback is going to have a target OP. We are going to use this null. And basically, like everything now we will put in between this feedback and the null will like change the position over time of our model, of our mesh, our second mesh. So like let's add a noise here. And now you can see like it changed quite quick. So let's go like with much smaller value, and maybe like in the feedback, press init start. And you can see we already have something interesting with our mesh being transformed. So first thing I want to do is to simplify like the reset operation. I'm going to add a keyboard in and drag and drop on init and start. So now every time I press 1, I have the deformation happening. Still, I feel like the amplitude is a bit too much. So let's go like for something, yeah, 0.005, something like that. And maybe like with a smaller period, 0.1. And so now you can see we already have something interesting with like our noise moving like the particle on our model. So you can see like already we have just with one operator, feedback and a noise, the deformation on the mesh is quite interesting, and there's already a lot to do with. But what I want to do here is really like to have like the noise only going in one direction, only on the Y direction. So in order to do that, I'm going to here choose parameter size to be 3. And you can see we now can play on every direction. So on the X direction, I want 0, on the Z direction as well 0, and I want only it to be on the Y direction. And again, I'm going to like lower down a lot the amplitude. So depending on the model you load, like you want to have a bigger or smaller amplitude. Like right now my model is like normalized to 0.1 almost, so yeah. So now it's working. I have the effect I wanted. It's like this dripping effect, but the problem is like it's going both direction. So what if I only want it like to go in one direction? I can have it like easily go only up by pressing positive only. And so now you can see like it's only going up. But what I want is quite the opposite actually, is to have it only go down. So in order to do that, what we need to do is actually the method I found like that works well, and that's as well a nice way to understand how pops are working, is to limit the noise effect by using a limit pop. So what I want to do is for now not use add entity, add noise to my position. So here I'm going to combine operation, I'm going to choose none, and I want to only export my noise. So if I press 1, you see like nothing happen. But if here I convert it to a dot, and it's always a nice method to see what attributes we have on our pop. So we can see we have the position, the color, and we have noise, and with a value of 0 on the X and Z, but we have a noise for each point. And this noise, we have like both positive and negative value, and we want to only have the negative one. So what I'm going to do here is to insert a limit. And this limit, I want it to not work on the P attribute, so not the position attribute, but only on the noise attribute. And in this noise attribute, I want it to only go down. So in parameter size, I can choose 3. Again, we could have like here choose only 1 and here 3 and like limit here. But yeah, it's a nice way, like, so you can see like you can like really like play on each X, Y, and Z parameters in almost any pop. So here I'm gonna choose here in limit maximum, I want to clamp it to 0. So like every time our noise reach a value above 0, it's to get to 0. And now I want, now my noise is limited. Now I want to add it to my position. So now I'm going to use mat combine here and combine A plus B. And so I want to add my position to my noise. And now you can see the effect is working. We only have the effect going down. So we can play on a lot of parameters already. Like we can play on the period to have something either like more bigger or 0.2 to have, and we can of course like have like speed being like faster. What I think is nice as well is like right now you can see like it's kind of stop once it reaches a certain value, which is cool. But if we wanted to have moving all along, we can change our noise value here on, for instance, the X parameters, and you can see like the noise is going to move and it will keep on dripping. So to do that, we can create constant chop, link it to a speed, and then to a null. And so basically the speed chop, taking the value in entrance, it will add one of these value per second. So if I add like 1, every second my speed will add 1. So we have like an incremental value. And this, I'm going to export it to our translate here. So you can see now it's like, yeah, dripping all in a constant way. So maybe like go like for a smaller value. So yeah, like already like the effect is working well. You can see we can as well like not render this geo, and so we have like the shape being yeah, destroyed over time and like never go back to the initial position. But I like to have it as like base model. We can as well like go to something more subtle. Here you can insert delete pop, and in scene enable, so we can like limit the number of points we have of mesh. And so if we go for scene step 2, we can have like something way more like, I don't know, like drippy, a bit more subtle, and yeah, it creates another effect that I think it's quite nice, like a bit like rainy effect on the person. So let's go back to the normal one. And yeah, like here we can add a level to play on a bit more maybe brightness and contrast, something a bit more, yeah, that we see better. And as well, something I like to do when I'm loading an OBJ is to add a matte. And in this matte, instead of working on the P attribute here, I'm going to choose color. And what it allows me is like to kind of play on the contrast, or like high light or low light. And here you can see like if I play from matte to low, you can really play on the contrast like in the mesh itself instead of playing after it with a level. So yeah, it's a nice way to change the color of the mesh. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You can see like playing with mesh is quite easy. It's really efficient on the computer, and you can really like have something fun quite fast. I really hope you enjoy this tutorial, and it shows you like how powerful pops are. For the one who wish, again, the model and the Touchdesigner file is available on my Patreon. And yeah, see you for the next tutorial. Enjoy.